Once there was, and there was not, neither here nor there, a princess who had arrived at a marriageable age. Her face was as fair as the moon on the 14th night of Ramadan, and she was as kind as the road to Mecca is long. So she did not lack for suitors, and suitors of noble birth. But they were men of the royal court of her father, the Sultan, men accustomed to the everyday flattery and dishonesty of politics. So she had no time for them. But she issued a challenge. She said, "I will marry the one of you who can tell me a tale that is perfectly untrue. No, impossible, from the first breath to the last." Many tried and failed, because they were men of such ambivalent morality they were as unable to tell a perfect lie as they were a perfect truth. Until one day into the royal court strode a handsome itinerant storyteller who bowed low before the princess and said, "Milady, I shall tell you a tale to fulfill your heart's desire. But before uttering an untruth, I beg forgiveness of Allah, the fountain of all truth. And I pledge to you, milady, I will be as true to you as this story is false." On the day that my grandmother gave birth to my grandfather, I was already a lad old enough to walk and run. So the midwife called me to her and said, "Boy, take these pennies, purchase some eggs and cumin that we may celebrate the cutting of your grandfather's umbilical cord." I hurried to do her bidding, but on my way back from the market, I stumbled and one of the eggs fell to the ground and broke. But out of it hopped a little chick with a load of firewood on its back. I immediately began to unload the burden so I could ride the little bird home. But as I removed the last log, I saw that the poor thing's back was rubbed raw with its load, and I flung myself to the side of the road and wept. Along came a man who asked me why I was crying. I told him, and he said, "Boy, take this date pit, roast it, grind it to a powder, rub it into the little creature's back, and all will be well." So I did as he told me, and as I rubbed the powder into the creature's back, out of it grew a towering date palm, and so I shimmied up the trunk, stuffing my mouth with dates as I climbed, and stiggins picked out the side, and when I burst through the crown at the top, I found myself in a date orchard so vast that a man harvesting dates in one tree could not see the man working in the next. And between the rows was soil so rich and dark that I immediately got the idea to sow my own crop of sesame seeds. And in no time at all, they grew into heavily laden bushes. But into what would I harvest them? Out of my beard I pulled a fat little flea, and I crushed it between my thumb and forefinger and turned it inside out, and immediately began harvesting my sesame seeds in my flea skin harvesting bag. And as I headed back with my harvest, I saw an ant making off with one of my sesame seeds that I had overlooked. And I grabbed a hold of the seed and pulled, and the ant braced all six of his legs and pulled, and I pulled, and he pulled, and the seed burst, and over us washed a river of sesame oil. I went down 3 times and came up the last time to find myself standing here before you. The storyteller bowed as the princess laughed, and it is said that in due time they were married, according to the laws of the prophet, as is proper. And over the course of their long and happy life together, they were as true to one another as this story was false.